confidence, how important confidence is in the man, how important confidence is in relationships, in business. Like, this is probably one of the number one things that has affected my own personal life, and I didn't even know it early on. So I want to dive into this. I'm going to ask you guys questions about what you've seen in your own personal life, maybe some principles that can help the audience, the listeners, to grow in confidence as a man. Because this, for me, I'll just say this. I remember one of the first times that I was affected by it and it impacted me was I was invited to speak. And I was going to speak at a church, and I had never spoken before. I remember I put on a shirt, I got ready, I got prepared, I knew my stuff, but my shirt was like, I had a different color shirt, so I was sweating through the shirt. So I looked in the mirror as I was leaving the house, and man, I just had big sweat spots, massive sweat spots. I'm like, oh, I better change. So I changed my shirt, and before I even left, I get into the car with my new shirt on, it's already full sweat too. I'm like, this is terrible. So I switched again for the third time to a black shirt. That way no one could see how nervous I was. Well, confidence played a big role, not just in public speaking, even though it did.
Yeah.
Confidence affects relationships. The number one thing that women say that they want is confidence, a confident man. So it affects relationships. It affects your public speaking that everyone's going to do at some point. It affects business. It affects business opportunities.
Yeah.
Oh, but there was one thing you were telling me about raising kids and a father's relationship with their kid is that even I think the father's confidence can even affect your kid, just because you told me that you found out that the confidence comes from a dad and not as much the mom.
True.
Even in like the earliest years of their life.
Yeah, so a child will actually borrow the confidence from their father, and they will stand strong or stand tall because the father does.
Until they get their own.
Until they get their own. So they're going to borrow it until they get their wins.
Yeah.
So until they have that, they're going to borrow all the confidence that a father has. So if a father's lacking in confidence, boy, that child is also going to lack in confidence too. So this affects every part of your life, plus your future children. So
Dang.
I think it's a big deal. So let me define what is confidence, and then let's start with Michael and then go to Elijah. Okay. So confidence, I looked it up. This is what it means. Confidence is the belief in your own abilities, your worth, and your decisions. It's a sense of self-assurance that comes from recognizing your strengths, accepting your imperfections, even knowing that, and trusting that you can navigate challenges effectively. Confidence isn't arrogance, or it's not overestimation. It's grounded in understanding of who you are and what you can bring to the table. So why don't we start with you, Michael? What have you seen, and how can you actually help other people grow in confidence?
Well, I would say I'll dive into a little bit of the relationship side of it. Like you were speaking at a Bible school a few weeks ago, and then we had like a Q&A time, and we all came up and answered questions. And the room was mostly like 70-80% guys. And one of the guys was asking, like, how do I have confidence when I'm like approaching a girl, or just confidence when I'm going to talk to somebody? And I gave the response of, well, I think usually confidence comes from your own identity of what you think about yourself. So I actually was reading, there's a book on not discipline your kids, but discipline for your own life, like self-discipline. And in the book, he was saying that the most easily offended people are the ones that don't know their self-identity. Like, if you actually think about it, like, think of someone that is in your life that you've seen that is just like, man, they just get offended so easily. It's because they don't know their own identity, so they don't have self-assurance. When you say something to them, they're just like easily offended because they don't have an identity to root it off. They're just like, oh yeah, that offends me. But it's because they have no self-assurance in their life, because it goes back to there's no discipline in their life. When they said they were going to do something, they didn't follow through. So then when someone else says something, there's no trust anywhere. So it's just like a floating thing inside them, and that's why they're so easily offended. So I actually said, whenever you say something to yourself, follow through with it. If I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 and go to the gym and work out, I'm going to wake up tomorrow at 7 and go to the gym and work out. If you don't do those small things for yourself, then when you say something to someone else, you're not going to follow through.
And they also they won't believe you.
Well, yeah, and respect from others comes from following through with what you say. So if you don't follow through with what you say, you're not going to have respect from other people, which also helps with confidence.
100%. What about you, Elijah?
Yeah. Well, I wrote some things down on what I wanted to say about confidence because, like you were saying, you borrow it until you get your own wins.
Yeah.
And I don't think I fully got all my own wins yet. I still want to, and I still think I have a lot of areas to grow in terms of discipline.
And the truth is, we all do.
Yeah,
No,
all the
everybody.
time.
No,
All the time.
I even reflect on.
I'm not even saying I'm not disciplined because there is definitely a lot of areas where I am, but I think there's a lot of areas where I want to.
Right.
But what I wrote down in terms of what I've realized about discipline is a point you made I want to point out on is do what you say you're going to do. I remember there was many times, even like this summer when I was working like 8 hours on a roof. Shout out Alpha Commercial Roofing. But I'd be 8 hours on a roof and I'd be... If your
a
roof's
roof
leaking.
restored.
A commercial one. Not
Commercial
residential.
Yeah,
Right.
not a residential guy. But I told myself I was gonna work out every day, no matter how long I was working, and I'd be super tired, and I just went anyway, and I just did it tired.
Yeah.
But you just do it tired, and even certain things like doing something. Even doing it scared sometimes, like public speaking. Like yesterday, I've never done fighting of any kind, and all these guys kind of look ugly and beat up. They got like cauliflower ear, and I'm like, they're doing spinning leg kicks. I'm like,
Golly.
dang, dude, these guys are crazy. But I was sitting there, I was like, dude, I'm kind of nervous to do this right now, but I just do it scared, kind of.
Yep.
I think there's a couple categories I would go into.
I'm gonna add to that. Not just do it scared, do it now.
Yeah.
So, because what can happen to us when we make a decision to do something, you might even decide, okay, next time I'm going to do it scared. But the thing is, you want to do it right now because right now is the moment that it counts.
Yeah.
So, am I going to cheat tomorrow on my food? Am I going to, work out? All those things you start right now, not tomorrow.
Yeah.
So do those things right now. So,
No, I completely agree. I remember I heard this quote one time. It was, "There's no courage without fear," is what I heard. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Because it really showed, I was like, if you don't do it, you can't be courageous without being scared to do it. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And then it was a short clip on like some army guy, some Navy SEAL dude I was watching. But the 2 points that I remember that helped me grow in confidence, even through puberty years, was working on my appearance. I think that helped out with even talking to the opposite sex. Like work on yourself, work on your body, work on your style, work on your hygiene with appearance. I think that helps, especially if you're going to approach a girl. Even how they view you is different because you obviously look like you respect yourself at least. Yeah. And there's also this silent confidence. Another point I want to make about your abilities, and it has to do with doing what you say you're going to do. Whether that's you told yourself you're going to work out or you're going to read your Bible every day, or you're going to love your wife. Like maybe you want to do a date a week or something. A lot of these people have these New Year's resolutions, but then they give up after 3 months. And I'll get them next year as soon as summer hits. And they're already they haven't been reading their Bible every day like they said they wanted to. They haven't been taking their wife out. They haven't been working out. And then they just end up in the same spot in December. Yeah. Like, oh, I guess I'll get them in January. Yeah. I'm still out of shape. My wife doesn't feel loved every single week. And I'm still not reading my Bible like I want to. And I'm like, but then there's a part of me that gets so annoyed when I go to the gym in January. I'm like, dude,
bruh,
guys,
all these
you
people
will all
be
be
here
out of
3 weeks.
here in literally 2 weeks.
Yeah, the first 30 days in January.
I'm like,
it ramps up right after Christmas. I was like, bro, who are all these people? I never seen these people.
yeah, I know. I'm like, I won't see you.
1 month and now
there's
you're
no
out.
difference between January 30th or 31st,
December 31st.
December 31st and January 1st. There's no difference, dude. Just start right now. I do like New Year's resolutions to a certain degree.
Jumpstart.
But there's some points where I'm just like, dude, you just go. There's no difference.
Yeah. And that's where I would say, actually, one of the books that changed my life, I read it when I was 19 or 20, was Atomic Habits. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I really like that book is because you were saying a lot of people make goals, but he was saying goals are good, but you need to have the system in place that's going to accomplish that goal every single day. So if I'm going to the gym every day, I'm going to set an alarm that repeats every day at 7 a.m. And then I'm going to set my clothes out the night before. and then I'm gonna have my coffee pre-programmed to start at that
And
time.
then I'm gonna have my meal prepped for
the day,
right
for
after
the
my
next
workout.
day.
Yeah.
And it's just those are the systems that are going to make the gym so much easier the next day.
Yeah.
And so it's the daily small habits. I recommend you guys to go read that book. It's super fire. Actually, I just told you to read that book.
Yeah. I'm like 2 pages in.
Yeah. I would say that one. And then another point I'd say for confidence, this one probably goes for everybody, but especially the guys that don't have earthly dads or good earthly dads, is go to the Bible. The Bible has 1,000,000 verses. There's probably at least like 200 to 500 verses about God specifically speaking to you as a person, to your own identity, and he's speaking into your identity. I've not given you a spirit of fear. I've given you power, love, of sound mind. That's speaking to your identity.
Yeah. I formed you in your mother's womb.
Yeah, I formed you in your mother's womb. I have great plans for you. Not to.
I know everything. I know everything you're gonna say before you say it.
Like if you're lacking in confidence and you don't have a good earthly father figure, or you don't even have a dad, go meditate the word. In Psalms 1,
go talk to Daddy God.
Yeah, in Psalms 1 it says, how does a young man keep his way pure? By living according to
Psalms
the word.
119:9.
Yeah, but and also in Psalms 1 it says a guy who is blessed through his life is like a
tree planted
by streams of water, meditating on the word day and night. So if you're always thinking about the verses that God is talking about you, about your identity, that's going to overflow and give you confidence. And so that's another one I'd say is get into the word and see what God says about you.
Yeah, I know exactly. Because also there's that one verse. I don't know if it was just me and you talking, or we already talked about it on this podcast, but it was, you were transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of even transforming your mind, I think, has to do with habits and discipline. And it also has to do, all this discipline and all this confidence stuff just has to do with how way you think about yourself.
Yeah.
So you really get transformed by whether you don't have a good earthly father, like you were saying, but you go through and you renew your mind for what God says about you, what he... the confidence in what God thinks about you, basically, and how that builds confidence and it transforms you into the man you always wanted to be. Yeah.
Well, let me give some extra stuff here because I love everything you guys are saying. I agree with it, love it. Well, confidence. The word confidence, actually, the root word for confidence is to confide. Okay, what confide means is to trust.
Okay.
So the reason a person doesn't have confidence is because they don't trust themselves. So they have to really begin to trust themselves. And how do you do that? How do you build confidence? Let me break some things down. Okay. Number one, you make a decision. What are you going to do? So reading the Bible or lifting weights or eating better, whatever the thing is, you make a decision. Now, that decision is I make a decision and I make no other options, meaning I make a cut. I cut from living like that. I cut from thinking like that. I cut from doing those bad habits. And I make a decision. This is who I'm going to become. This is what I'm going to do. When I was 19, 20 years old, I started really lifting weights, like gung-ho. Before that, no one really thought of Antonio as a guy who lifted weights or was in shape. And kind of, because I was athletic and I played basketball.
Yeah.
But they didn't go, hey, that guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to lifting weights. If they wanted to say Antonio plays basketball, that's the guy. Antonio plays basketball. But I made a decision internally, I'm going to lift weights. I'm going to be faithful and consistent at lifting weights. Eventually it became my identity within myself. And then eventually after that, everyone else thought of Antonio that way.
Yeah. I think most of the benefits that I like about working out aren't even the physical changes, honestly. I mean, I've put on a lot of muscle compared to when I started, but I like the quiet confidence you have in other areas that it leaks into because you did it every day, you ate because there's a lot of attributes that go into working out. Your sleep, your eating, your training, or you went hard every day.
Your sacrifice.
You ate good every day. You have grams of protein, your calories. I'm like, there's the quiet confidence that after a while it builds, and that you're like, the next thing, like I'm starting a business, and I already there's this quiet confidence of, oh, I've done this for a year. Oh, I can do it.
And I know that it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but I'm
because
going to learn
also
it.
At the beginning you realize with most things that are worth it, they kind of suck a little bit at the start. And I'm like, working out is actually not fun at the start. You're sore. You don't know the form. You don't know
And when you look, it doesn't look any different.
No, you don't look any different.
It takes like, if you're natural, it takes like a year.
Yeah, dude. And then you're like, if you're eating a bigger amount of calories, because I started a little bit like smaller, your stomach's expanding. You're like just downing food. It like hurts for like a week.
Right now.
Justice
on a ball.
Justice has gained about 10 pounds, right?
In like a month.
Yeah, it's a month. It's been a month.
10
But he's been
pounds.
off for a week.
He's
We're
been
trying to get
grinding.
him back on. We're trying to get this guy have
Redialed.
yeah.
You just, press delete and start all over again, Justice.
Do what you say you're gonna do.
Do what you say, what you're going to do. Okay. So number 1 would be decide what you will do, and you do it. Number 2, become expectant on the outcome before you see it.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? It means sowing and reaping. So in first 30 days of lifting weights, I'm not going to look any different. The next day, definitely I'm not going to look any different. But eventually it will produce the change that I wanted to produce. That it's business, that's in relationships, that's in all the other categories of your life. But it's important that you decide to do it, and then you become expectant on the outcome before you can see it. So number 3 would be watch your self-talk. Okay? Now, we're all talking about identity. We're talking about confidence or self-esteem. Well, our self-talk is crucial. If you actually take an analysis, evaluate what you say to yourself about yourself. Okay?
Okay.
So when you do something wrong, how do you talk about yourself? You feel like a loser? Do you have shame? That's your self-talk.
Yeah.
It's not what other people are saying. It's what you're saying to yourself about yourself. Your opinion about yourself is probably the most important opinion that you think about. Okay? So number 1, decide. Number 2, become expectant on the outcome. And number 3, watch your self-talk. It's probably the most important thing that I just mentioned on building confidence.
Yeah.
So I am not going to tear myself down. I am going to lift myself up.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell myself that I can do it. I'm going to tell myself to wake up. I'm going to tell myself to read that book. I'm going to tell myself to do certain things that I want to do, and I'm not going to talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
Because for example,
Not even negotiate with yourself.
No.
Because there's been times where like I'll negotiate too long and then it doesn't get done. Where if like I just say, yeah, I'm going to do it, and I kind of just don't even think about how I feel, and I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to go. And then like there was one time where I was taking Justice to the gym early in the morning, and then Liz, me and her have a conversation, and we just talked till late in the night, and I was like, dude, I gotta wake up in 4 hours. But I was like, I told myself I was gonna do it. And then I didn't negotiate, and I just woke up, and I was obviously cooked. But I was like, I can't let myself not build confidence. I couldn't negotiate with myself. I was like, I told myself I was. But there's definitely been times where I've just been like, I can't do it. I'm too
look,
tired.
even having a written plan.
Yeah.
Like this is crucial, like having a written plan. I'm not just talking about lifting weights, even though
blueprint.
We keep leaning on that one. Let's just take an example. Running.
Yeah.
Okay. Or steps. I know this one. This is a good one.
Okay.
Okay. So 2 years ago, I watched the video, and I saw that this guy lost 5 pounds that he could not melt off his body. And so he decided to walk 25,000 steps a day for 7 days. And he lost like 5 pounds.
Okay.
Okay, so 25,000 steps is a lot of steps.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about just your phone jiggling. That doesn't count. I'm talking about, your watch telling you how many steps to take. And I did it. I'm like, I'm going to do 25,000 steps a day before this 24 hours that I got. Even if it's 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to get that 25,000 steps. So I did it. And it was hard. So I woke up in the morning, I go for a walk. I go eat, I go for a walk. I go do my work, I go for a walk. I was taking nonstop walks. And then I would just make excuses. Hey, Christelle, you want to go for a walk? Anyone, go for a walk, right? So 25,000 steps. I lost 7 pounds that 1 week. And you have to make a decision and make a plan. And I would even suggest that make it public. So like you told Liz, or you're telling other people.
Then you can't keep it in your head. It's official as soon as you said it.
It is. And other people will keep you accountable.
Yeah.
I'm going to do carnivore, or I'm going to do this, or here's my goal.
They're keeping you accountable. They don't even know it.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't want to look dumb around what you said you're going to do, but you don't do it.
Yeah.
So whatever that
Yeah.
is, I don't care if it's the Bible, I don't care what it is, business, make it public, because it's going to keep you accountable to your own word. So 1, make a decision. 2, become expectant on the outcome. Watch your self-talk. Number 4, it would be surround yourself with those who strengthen your resolve. So if I've got a bunch of people who are not helping me in my decision,
Yeah.
then I don't want to be around those people. If they think that I'm a loser, if they think that I'm not going to accomplish these things, like we were talking about Elon Musk earlier in that book, his dad said to him, why are you going to Canada? You're going to be broke and you're going to end up here broke 2 seconds later.
Richest man on the planet.
And he became the richest man on the planet. Elon Musk did not follow what his dad was saying to him because his dad thought he was a loser and was going to be a loser. So there could be teachers, there could be coaches, there could be all sorts of, even your own family, who talk bad about you. Don't listen to them. Surround yourself with the right people. And I would even suggest even hire coaches and be around a community, even if you pay for it, so that you can actually have belief in yourself, because you might not have it right now. So number 5, borrow confidence from others when you don't have it. So I would borrow my confidence from other people. I have borrowed my confidence.
Explain that.
So if I'm hanging out, if I want to grow in public speaking, for example, I would go and hang out with people who are actually speaking well, and I would borrow their confidence because they would actually encourage me without them thinking that they're encouraging me. Okay?
Okay.
But also I would learn the skill. But what you need mostly is not the skill, but it's the mental awareness that you can do it.
Yeah.
So I borrow it. Like what you're doing in MMA right now. You don't know how to do MMA, but you're going to borrow from those guys. Over time, you're going to borrow their confidence, and then you're going to also learn the skill. But it's not the skill that you need. You need the belief that you can do it. Belief is one of the most powerful things that can change our lives. But do you believe in yourself? That's where you might need to borrow it from other people on a temporary basis. If you're always leaning on other people for their confidence, you're in the wrong boat.
Yeah.
No, I saw this one. I was watching this. He was like a business guy, and he said he grew up poor. He was like a broke kid, but he would sit in his dream car, Maserati. He went to a Maserati dealership and sat inside a Maserati once a week. At the start, he said he felt like he didn't belong in the car.
Yeah.
And then he just sat there over and over until he could envision himself having and owning this car. And then I think it was like 2 years later, he ended up having the car. And I was like, dang. It made me realize, because I would always hear like all this advice from business guys. And most of the time, it's not even about practical things to get rich. It's actually about mindset most of the time.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there, I'm like, man, this is all about mindset. It's all about thinking I have every ability to do this.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, wow, that's like mostly what getting
I would say honestly like
wealthy
60,
is about.
70% of life is mindset.
Yeah.
Like, I even remember playing basketball growing up. Like in my high school years, all the way up to 9th grade, I was always like 1 or 2 best player in the team because it was just a smaller school. I was always like one of the highest scorers. So I had the confidence and I would just go and play good.
Yeah.
And then I go to high school and this is like the entire city's best players.
Yeah.
So I go from being like the top player to being like maybe 5th to 7th best player. In first year, I did decent. I was the starter. And then I go into 11th grade and a lot of my other teammates are going to the senior team. And the coach, he sees that I'm struggling with confidence. He's like, okay, you're going to be a floater. He's like, you're going to play JV and varsity. And at first I was like confused, like, why don't I just play varsity? Like, I'm definitely good enough, I have the skills. But it actually helped a lot because in JV, literally the year before, I averaged like 3-4 points a game in 10th grade. But then I go to 11th grade, and then in JV, I think I was like number 2 scorer on the team because it was just the confidence of like, oh, I'm the older kid. I can do the scoring now. But it was just confidence in my mind. Like, I didn't even change my skills that much over that year. It was just the confidence of, oh, I can actually do this and I have the skill set to do this. And then that's when I was able to do a lot better in my 12th grade year. Pretty much as I've been going through life, I've been realizing mindset is literally 70%.
And even what the thing you were just talking about with the guy with the Maserati.
Yeah.
Well, I heard Patrick Bet-David, one of the guys that I like a lot online. Anyways, he said when he was he was already in business, but he wasn't there where he wanted to be. And he couldn't afford the things that he wanted to afford. But he would go to this house that he really wanted. It was a big house. It was way out of his league. He said the first time he went, the real estate agents didn't even pay attention to him.
Yeah.
Because the real estate agents knew that he was out of his league. And he knew he was out of his league.
Yeah.
So he didn't represent well. He went again the next year and the next year. And finally, on the 4th year, those real estate agents are hounding him down for his business to buy this house because not only could he afford it, but he knew inside that he could. So it wasn't based on his pocketbook. It was based on his belief. And he even said, and I've heard this before, that you even should lie to yourself about what you can do. You should lie to yourself until you believe it. So that's how confidence works. So you either borrow it or you lie to yourself. Watch your self-talk. But I heard this, and I think this kind of boils it all down. If you can see it, if you can say it, you will see it. And if you can see it, you will seize it. I'm going to say that again. If you can say it, you will see it. If you can see it, you will seize it. So it begins with how you talk.
No, it begins with how you say it.
It begins with how you talk, yeah. How you say it.
talk.
It begins with what you say. That will affect the way you see things. That will affect the way you grab a hold of life.
Okay.
So self-talk and even the things that you are going to do in life, your business or your physical appearance or the things that you're going to have, those things begin with what you say about yourself, to yourself, and even to other people to keep you accountable. And that's, you're going to begin to see yourself differently. You're going to be able, even if you haven't changed physically, you're going to see the mirror differently. You're going to feel your clothes differently. You're going to walk straight. You're going to walk strong. And you're going to affect everything in your life. And even other people are going to go, who's that guy walking in the room? What does he do? What's he about? You'll own the room. And it's not like you want to own the room in arrogance. You don't want that. You just want to be so self-confident that you do. So borrow confidence from other people when you don't have it. Number 6 would be fuel your belief. Fuel your belief. So you want to...
Which is kind of what we were talking about.
We are talking about. Yeah. But also, for example, if I make a decision to lift weights, I'm going to go back to that. If I make a decision to lift
It's kind of just an easy example.
So if I'm going to lift weights, I want to actually watch the body part, someone online of that body part that I'm going to be lifting, even though I know how to lift that.
Yeah.
I've done it a million times over. But what I'm doing is I'm fueling myself.
Yeah.
So you want to doubt your doubts and you want to fuel your belief.
Yeah.
So if you can put it in front of you, it's like this. An MMA fighter, UFC fighters, they put the fighter's picture that they're going to fight 3 months from now. They're going to put it on the fridge. That's my opponent. That's who I'm attacking. That's who I'm going after. It will affect the way I open the fridge. It will affect what I do on a daily basis. So fuel your desire, fuel your belief.
And actually, kind of to go with this story, in the, I think it was the 2020 or 2021 Super Bowl, it was Chiefs versus Buccaneers. Tom Brady had so he has a fight with Belichick. And so he leaves the Patriots, goes to the Buccaneers. Brady's like 44 years old at this point. And everyone's like doubting him. And everyone's like, oh, this guy's old. He's going to a new team. Patriots, Bill Belichick.
Doesn't have the coach.
Yeah, all this stuff. And so I think it was week 12. The Chiefs were kind of on like an insane run. They just won the Super Bowl the year before. And they were like 15-1 that year. And they were like clearly the favorites. They play the Buccaneers in week 12 and they cook them. Like they beat them like, I think it's like 35-24 or something like that. Fast forward to the Super Bowl, the Buccaneers make the Super Bowl, the Chiefs make the Super Bowl. And I remember hearing a story because the Buccaneers were kind of like filled with a team of like veterans. It was like all veterans who had never won. It was just a bunch of guys who were really good, but they never won a Super Bowl. And the Chiefs were like these young bucks who just came off a Super Bowl victory. And Brady just came in. And I remember his teammates saying every single day they woke up, Brady had sent him a text at 6 a.m. Every single person on the team, we're going to win this week. We're going to win this week. Because literally they're just thinking, we just got stomped by the Chiefs like 5 weeks ago. But Brady, he's going and instilling belief in his team that they're going to win. Eventually they did win. They actually cooked the Chiefs. Not that I love it. And they had some crazy injuries on the O-line. But it was the belief that Brady did to his team that instilled the belief that they could even win.
Right.
And that's one of his greatest gifts. He would instill belief in his team. Like I remember watching them mic'd up, and before the game, he's like, "You already got the playbook. You already got the cheat sheet. You're going to win. Like he's saying that while they're warming up.
Right.
And it was like he's just instilling belief the entire time. And so, like you're saying, to kind of build off it, it's all about the belief that you can do something.
100%.
No, yeah. Dang, that's high.
Okay, so fuel your belief. And number 7, the last one, is take micro steps towards the direction that you're going. So it goes along with that book that you're reading, that you mentioned, Atomic Habits. I forget the author's name.
James Clear.
James Clear. So highly recommend that book. But he talks about in that book that if you decide, I think he even uses this as an illustration, if you decide to go and lift weights and lose some weight, whatever it is, that maybe you take the first step. You get dressed.
Yeah.
You get dressed to go to the gym. Maybe you don't go to the gym. The next day, you get dressed and you go to the parking lot, and maybe you don't go inside. The third day, you get dressed, you go to the parking lot, and you go inside, and you go home. Maybe you didn't even lift weights. The fourth day, you go inside, you get dressed, you lift weights for the very first time. You're taking micro steps towards that right direction. Because a lot of people go, oh man, that's too big to lose 30 pounds. It's too much. I can't change everything around me. You can if you take micro steps towards that direction. Maybe you watch something on how to do something. You learn it. I mean, you went drastically to MMA, you know?
Yeah.
That's a big, big shocker. I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm totally out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do these movements. But eventually, because you take micro steps to it,
You'll be doing those roundhouse kicks.
Yeah.
hopefully. But anyways, so let me summarize this real quickly. If there are any points you guys want to mention, you can maybe go for it right now. But let me do a quick summary, okay? Number 1, you make a decision on what you're going to do. Number 2, you become expectant on the outcome that you're going to have. That's sowing and reaping. Number 3, watch your self-talk. How you say it affects how you see it, which affects how you seize it. Number 4, surround yourself with other people that will strengthen your resolve, that will encourage your resolve. Number 5, borrow confidence from other people when you don't have it. And number 6, fuel your belief. Doubt your doubts that are creeping in and empower your beliefs of what you're going to do. And number 7, take micro steps towards the direction that you're wanting to go.